what is up, everyone? Hope you're all doing good today. And welcome to the BS Mock Draft Special. In this episode, we are going to do a mock draft, but only for the first round for all 32 teams. Well, yeah, for all 32 teams for the first round. So this is going to be a specific mock draft episode. Also, we're going to do a breaking ranking since today is Wednesday. So we're going to do a breaking ranking at the end of Wednesday segment episode. If it comes out on Wednesday, I apologize if it doesn't, but hopefully this episode comes out on Wednesday. Also, due to me not filming on Monday, I am going to do a Hall of Fame or Shame segment on Friday's podcast. I'm sorry everything's a little messy right now with my work with my podcast work. Hopefully I'll get everything situated, but we're in a messy time period. Everything's messed up right now and disorganized due to the coronavirus. So just hang with me a little bit. And today's episode, I apologize if I can't do your team. I wanted to do I was thinking about doing like a mock draft specifically for every single team, but then I realized that's extremely almost impossible to do. Almost impossible. I mean, it's probably not, but for me and my time, it was almost impossible for me to do every single team. So I apologize on that. But let's get started with the mock draft. First round only. need for a replacement for Darius Slay, and I feel like Jeff Okudua is the closest replacement for Darius Slay. Maybe they could get an offensive lineman here. Maybe they get Brian McKinney before the Giants do, in my opinion, because I feel like that's going to be the next pick. But that's why I have a gut feeling. I feel like they're going to go for a cornerback, pick number 3. I see some people saying offensive line. Even quarterback, they're not going for a quarterback, at least not in the first round. If they go for a quarterback in the first round, then they're really gonna kill Matthew Stafford's confidence coming into next season, and I can't see them doing that. And they did a lot better when Matthew Stafford was starting compared to when he wasn't, obviously, because the only games that they won was when he was starting. Going to the Lions, pick number 3. All right. Coming in at next pick, which is the Giants pick, and I believe the Giants will pick Bryant McKinnie, offensive lineman. He's kind of I feel like he could play either left or right tackle. He's really elusive in my opinion, and they need to build up the offensive line with something. All right. I do not believe in hold on, what's his name? Crap. There's just one offensive lineman I do not believe in. That people are saying is better than Brian McKinney. Because me personally, I feel like Brian McKinney is the best O lineman in the draft. Jedrick Wills. I saw some of his film. I don't know why I blanked on his name. I apologize. I do not believe in his footwork. I really hope if a player does end up drafting him, they're not gonna. That's gonna be a mistake. I mean, it's not his footwork. When I say his footwork, like when he breaks from the line, he needs a lot of help with like positioning himself. He kind of like leans back too much on his one foot. He just needs a lot of work, and I know a lot of people like him for his talent reasons. He was pretty good in college, but there's just a lot of issues that people don't see. But me personally, I feel like they will draft Bryant McKinney. He's elusive enough and he's big enough, and it's a good choice. So Bryant McKinney coming in at 4th overall, and which is the Giants pick in the NFL draft. All right. Coming at pick 5, which is the Bengals, they're gonna draft Tua Tagovailoa. Sorry, I could never say his name. Quarterback. The reason why they're pick number 5 is because of the trade that happened. The Dolphins traded 2 of their 3 first round picks or so. I don't know, but they traded one of their first round picks, which was the 5th overall, and now I believe the Bengals will draft a quarterback. They will draft Tua Tagovailoa. Everyone knows who he is. He's a little overrated in my opinion. I feel like the Bengals are stupid enough to draft him. I feel like Tua is going to be the bust of next year. I never really believed in him as much as people say he does, and now I think people are not starting not to believe in him either. He has a lot of injury issues. I feel like his play isn't ready for the NFL yet. I think he has a lot. I think he's very raw in the way he plays, and I don't think he's ready to start exactly. I mean, I think the Bengals are stupid enough to draft Tua because they're the Bengals. No offense, Bengals fans, but yeah, he's gonna be a bust, and yeah, that's basically all I gotta say about that. I mean, I don't see the Bengals drafting Justin Herbert. I really hope they don't, but I just don't see that. It seems like they were originally talking about drafting Tua, but then then the whole Joe Burrow thing came around, and now they're talking about they were drafting Joe Burrow for like the rest of the year coming into next year. But there's a lot of reports out there that Joe Burrow doesn't want to play for the Bengals, so I can see why they were willing to trade away their first pick, because in my mock draft they traded away their first overall to the Dolphins. So yeah, I think in their opinion the next best option is Tua, which personally, I don't think it is. But yeah. So Tua going 5th overall, and the Bengals draft him. Okay, coming at pick 6. So 6th overall is the Chargers pick, and I believe they're going to draft the quarterback as well. They're going to draft quarterback by the name of Justin Herbert, coming at 6th overall. The Chargers do need a future quarterback, a future franchise quarterback. I do not believe. I do not believe Tyrod Taylor is like the franchise quarterback forever. I mean, he's 32. I don't know. Once you're 32, it's kind of late to become a franchise quarterback for like the. They need like a sustainable option. I believe in Tyrod Taylor a lot, but he's a bridge quarterback who could possibly win you a Super Bowl. But he's not meant to stick around forever. I mean, he's a bridge quarterback, you know. But they need a quarterback, a guy that Tyrod Taylor can mentor for a couple of years, and I believe Tyrod Taylor could mentor Justin Herbert, and I feel like Justin Herbert fits the mold for the LA Chargers perfectly. He has a little bit of mobility, a strong arm, great accuracy, for the most part. Just has a couple issues that he needs to handle. He has like little blind spots that sometimes he can't see the cornerbacks, and he ends up throwing an interception. And sometimes his clutch mobility isn't as great as it usually is, but he kind of reminds me a lot of a faster version of Philip Rivers, and I'm sure the Chargers are very interested in that a mobile version of Philip Rivers. That's what I kind of see from Justin Herbert, but yeah, I think it's a good pick. And I feel like I can picture seeing Justin Herbert in a Chargers uniform. So, yeah, coming at 6th overall is Justin Herbert. All right, coming at 7th overall, which is the Panthers pick, and I believe they're gonna draft Trayvon Diggs, cornerback. And that's what I believe the Panthers are gonna draft. Trayvon Diggs. He has a lot. He reminds me a lot of Aqib Talib in a way, which is a very good thing because Aqib Talib is a really really good cornerback, or he was. I feel like this guy could stick around for a really long time. I believe in his play. And yeah, I mean, it's not much to really say. I mean, he's really fast. It's just a really good pick. Yeah, and he has a lot of good skills too. He has really good ball skills, and he was a former receiver, so I mean he can catch the ball a lot quicker, a lot easier than other cornerbacks. I just really like Trayvon Diggs. There's just a lot good there, and they need someone to pair. The Panthers need someone to pair up with Dante Jackson. And I feel like Trayvon Diggs can pair up with Dante Jackson, who's another cornerback on the Panthers. And I think it's a really good pick. I know a lot of people want a replacement for Luke Kuechly, but if I'm being honest, a lot of the linebackers in this draft, I'm not really impressed with them. I wasn't really impressed with a lot of the linebackers in the NFL draft this year, and I don't know if the Panthers are either, but maybe they are, and I don't know. But yeah, so that's what I believe is gonna go. Hold on, it's gonna go 7th overall. Trayvon Diggs going to the Panthers. Okay, pick number 8. So 8th overall, the Cardinals pick, and I believe the Cardinals will select Jaylon Johnson, cornerback. Jaylon Johnson reminds me a little bit of Patrick Peterson in a way. They need they need an heir to Patrick Peterson. He's not getting any younger. And it's soon gonna be time to move on. And I feel like Jaylon Johnson is a good option to move on from Patrick Peterson with. I know Patrick Peterson wants to stay there for a really long time, but if we're being honest, he's not getting any younger. And Yeah, Patrick Peterson, I believe, is 32 years old, um, which is a pretty old for a cornerback, but he does have a lot of speed left. But I believe he's 32. I'm not 100% sure. Oh, he's 29. Why did I think he was 32? But either way, he's not getting much younger. Um, he's 29 years old. Either way, he's not getting much younger, and it's going to be soon time to move on from Patrick Peterson, and I believe the Cardinals are building something. They're going to be a team to fear in the future, and I feel like Jalen Johnson is a good pick, coming from the NFL draft. So the Cardinals pick 8 will be Jalen Johnson in my mock draft. Okay, coming ninth overall, which is the Jaguars pick. I believe the Jaguars will pick Derek Brown, defensive lineman. They desperately need to build on that D lineman after Calais Campbell left, and um, they need another defensive tackle. They need to build up that defensive line. They need to rebuild their defense. I don't know what's going on with my Jaguars. Apparently, Leonard Fournette might be leaving, which will make me incredibly sad because I really like Leonard Fournette, especially on my Jaguars team. Um, I just don't understand how they went from 2017 all the way to this year where they're falling apart. Like Jalen Ramsey left. AJ Boye got traded. Oh my god, our team is getting depleted by the second, and it sucks. But they really need a defensive lineman, especially in the first round. They could always draft a cornerback in the second round, because I believe they need something else in the first round before they draft a cornerback as well. Um, yeah, because they really need to build up that defensive lineman. It's really pathetic right now, their defensive lineman. And yeah, so ninth overall, Derek Brown, defensive lineman. Okay, coming at 10th overall, offensive lineman Andrew Thomas. Uh, Once again, we're not picking that other offensive lineman. Andrew Thomas is he has a lot what's called agility. He's really quick for an offensive lineman. Um, he could be considered a little bit as a developmental offensive lineman, but um, I mean, Browns the Browns really need to. I think I might have said Vikings, but it's the Browns, which is 10th overall. 10th overall is the Browns pick. They really need offensive linemen. They that was kind of their weakness last year, not keeping Baker Mayfield as protected as he should have been. And once again, we're not picking Jedrick Wills. I don't believe in him. I feel like the Browns are smart enough not to pick him. If they're not, then that's unfortunate. But yeah, I mean Andrew Thomas is like the next best thing. He came out of Georgia. He just he has a really good build. He has good agility as an offensive lineman, and yeah, I can see him going 10th overall, and the Browns picking him up 10th in the draft. All right, coming 11th overall, we got a defensive lineman. And it's also the Jets pick, and it's gonna be Ross Blacklock. Um, Jets need defensive linemen. Their defense was okay last year, but they need a defensive lineman, uh, desperately. Um, and I feel like a good defensive tackle, Ross Blacklock, an underrated pick in my opinion, and he could go 11th overall. I could see that happening. Pick um coming out and going into the NFL draft. And yeah. Okay, 12th overall, which is the Raiders pick, and I believe the Raiders will select Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver. He's the best wide receiver in the NFL draft, hands down. Has great hands. Reminds me a lot of Julio Jones. He's gonna be an elite receiver. Every little thing he does, unless he gets injured, unless he becomes an injury-prone quarterback. I mean, wide receiver. But Jerry Jeudy, really good talent, really good hands. He has a good amount of speed. Um, and it's just he's a really good receiver, and I feel like Derek Carr needs a number one receiver. I don't believe Tyrell Williams can be a number one receiver, and with the Las Vegas Raiders, I believe they need a new number one receiver for Derek Carr. And yeah, I don't think Tyrell Williams is a number one receiver, but he's still pretty good though. So he's a good deep threat. So all they need is a guy like Jerry Jeudy, and they're set, you know. So yeah, number 12, Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver, 12th pick from the Raiders. Okay, we'll go to the 13th overall now. So number 13, 13th pick by the 49ers. I see the 49ers picking up Jeff Gladney, cornerback. They need a guy they soon need a replacement for Richard Sherman. He isn't getting any younger. They don't have too many great cornerbacks after that. I mean, they need a real solid number 2 cornerback. I know they're probably going to go for a defensive lineman, but because that's what they usually do every year in the draft. But I don't know. I really think they have two first round picks. They could trade one of them away, but I feel like they should go for a cornerback, 13th overall. They need a solid number 2 to be a replacement for Richard Sherman eventually, and to be a solid number 2 cornerback. And I feel like Jeff Gladney can get that job done easily. And yeah, he's solid. He can start right away. He's quick. And I think it's a good pick for the 49ers for number 13 overall. All right. So 14th overall. Okay. So 14th overall is the Buccaneers. And I feel like the Buccaneers is going to get Tristan Wirfs. I think I said, yeah. Tristan Wirfs, right tackle. They desperately need a right tackle. If they want Tom Brady to stay healthy the whole entire season, they're gonna need a solid offensive line. Their offensive line was okay last year, but wasn't good enough. If they don't want Tom Brady to throw like 100 interceptions, then they need a good offensive line, because once a little bit of pressure goes Tom Brady's way, he's gonna curl up into a little ball and fall flat. That's what always happens. Well, not always happens, but that's what typically happens when anyone talks about Tom Brady. And yeah, number 14, Tristan Wirfs, right tackle, Buccaneers. Okay, coming into 15th overall, which is the Broncos pick, and I believe the Broncos are gonna pick Kayvon Chasian, defensive end edge. Yeah, he's like a good edge tackle. The Broncos need they want to build up their defensive line. They want to be. I feel like they could still be a dominant defense. It's gonna take a little while for them to get to where they used to be. It's gonna take a lot of time. And I feel like they could eventually get to that place where they used to be. I believe in their head coach, and I feel like they just need to build up a little bit more of that defensive line, and they're basically set. So coming 15th overall, Kayvon Chasian. Hope I said your name right. All right, coming 16th overall. 16th overall is the Falcons. Oh, I don't know if I said it, by the way, but 15th overall was the Broncos. But coming into 16th overall is the Falcons pick. I believe the Falcons will pick C.J. Henderson, cornerback. Falcons, once again, they need a cornerback. They need either a safety or a cornerback, but I feel like they'll pick a cornerback here. I feel like it's kind of like either way, they have to get something on defense. Their defense was kind of like a big reason why they went 7-9 last year. Their defense wasn't good enough, and they need to keep working on that defense, get back to the standards that it used to be. And I believe the Falcons will pick C.J. Henderson. Even though I'm not a big fan of C.J. Henderson, I believe they will unfortunately pick C.J. Henderson. There's a lot of issues C.J. Henderson has, and he could end up being a potential bust. But yeah, 16th overall, it's going to be C.J. Henderson from the Falcons. All right, Now, pick number 17 was the Cowboys pick, but I have a trade here. I feel like the Saints will trade with the Cowboys will trade with the Saints, and yeah, they're gonna trade for Saints, couple picks and stuff, and maybe a possible player. And I feel like the Saints will now that they traded, they will draft quarterback Jordan Love. Okay, I've talked about this many times. I do not believe Taysom Hill is the answer for the New Orleans Saints. It's just please no. I hope they do not do that. If they do end up not drafting the quarterback in this draft at all, not even in the second round, that probably means they're gonna go with Taysom Hill moving on forward. I said probably. I mean, it just makes the most sense to get a quarterback now. Like Jordan Love is the perfect uh uh what's it called developmental quarterback. Jordan Love is the perfect developmental quarterback. He reminds me a little bit of Patrick Mahomes. A little bit. I mean, people are saying he's like Patrick Mahomes. I don't think he's 100% like Patrick Mahomes. Reminds me a bit of Patrick Mahomes. Could be a potential really good player one day. Um, I think his leadership needs a little bit more work. He seems a little bit on the quiet side. I don't know. I don't know if that's true. That's why I kind of get a feel from him when I'm looking at interviews and stuff. I didn't actually look at. I looked at his mainly his film review. I didn't look at his leadership review, you could say. But I don't know if he's a great leader. But either way, he's a good developmental quarterback, and the Saints should pick him up. I mean, they need a quarterback for the future, and I hope to God it's not Taysom Hill. As a Saints fan, he's just not great. And I originally thought it would be Teddy Bridgewater, but they ended up not keeping Teddy Bridgewater, which is highly disappointing. And now this guy, I feel like Jordan Love could be the future for the Saints. You never know. Maybe the Saints somehow magically trade all the way up to the first overall and pick up Joe Burrow. That could happen. You never know. But the Saints should draft a quarterback sometime in this draft if they want to have like a developmental type quarterback where they pass the air. Drew Brees passes the air from passes the mantle down to another quarterback, and I feel like Jordan Love could be a potential quarterback to have. So Jordan Love going 17th overall. Saints draft Jordan Love. Okay, now let's go to 18th overall, which is the Bengals pick, and I believe the Bengals will draft Henry Ruggs. Really quick guy, really quick receiver. John Ross he sucks. Can't catch. Gets injured a lot. He's done. Just get John Ross out of Cincinnati. He's not good anymore. Well, he never was good, but he's just really, really fast. He doesn't have great hands, and yeah. But Henry Ruggs is John Ross gone right in a way. Yeah, he's really quick. He has good hands, good route running, and can get out of those tight situations. Henry Ruggs, I feel like could go to the Bengals so he can team up with Tyler Boyd. It's like Tyler Boyd and Henry Ruggs, a good wide receiver combination, good wide receiver duo. And yeah, 18th overall, Henry Ruggs. Okay, now let's go to the 19th pick. We're moving on to the 19th pick, which is the Raiders pick. It's their second pick in this draft. And I believe the Raiders will select linebacker Patrick Queen. They need to work on their defense once again. That was a big factor from last year. I mean, a big limited factor from last year was their defense. They had a lot of issues on defense that need to address. Maybe they go for a cornerback here, but I feel like linebacker is more in need of attention. Maybe cornerback in the second round. But, yeah. Patrick Queen should be 19th pick. Should be the 19th pick, 19th overall. And that's what I honestly see happening in this draft. I mean, they either way they're going for defensive something, you know. They need to get defense. They need to get something defense. So I believe a linebacker would be perfect for the Las Vegas Raiders. Okay, let's move on to the 20th overall, which is the Jaguars pick. And I believe the Jaguars will select Yetur Gross-Matos, defensive end. Yeah, I mean, they need to build up on their defensive linemen, and yeah, Jaguars, it would be perfect fit with them. I mean, he could possibly play a little bit of linebacker too. I could see, maybe. But yeah, number 20. Once again, another defensive lineman, Yetur Gross-Matos. I hope I said your name right. Okay, 21st overall is the Eagles. Let's go. Okay, the Eagles will select Justin Jefferson. He's a perfect slot receiver. I'm a big fan of Justin Jefferson. Me personally, I really hope they pick Justin Jefferson. As an Eagles fan, that's like number one on my list. Is a wide receiver, because after Nelson Agholor, that was horrible. Yeah, they need a wide receiver. They need a good slot receiver, or a guy that could take the place of Deshaun Jackson once he's gone. I believe personally, Greg Ward Jr. is a good slot receiver, but I could see Justin Jefferson and Greg Ward Jr. Sliding out of slot receivers, like taking turns between the two of them. And yeah, 21st overall, Justin Jefferson. And people seem to underrate him a little bit, because he had Joe Burrow in LSU last year, and he's the reason why he had such great stats and stuff. But if you really look at it, Justin Jefferson really caught like tough balls Joe Burrow threw his way. He has really good hands and can break from the line. Really, like, it's good footwork too. He just has a couple issues with jump balls. A little bit, not that bad, but I don't know. I find Justin Jefferson to be a great pick. I don't know why people seem to underrate him a little bit due to him having Joe Burrow. Usually, when you have a good quarterback, you overrate them. But I don't know. It's weird. But Justin Jefferson, I feel like he should be 21st overall. Eagles should pick him up. Okay, coming at pick 22, we got Xavier McKinney. A really good safety. Vikings need a safety. I don't think Andrew Sendejo is going to be there for much longer. And Harrison Smith needs he's not getting much younger either, and they just need a safety in that position. They need a future safety for that spot. And I feel like Xavier McKinney can be a perfect spot for that position. And I just realized Andrew Sendejo is on the Browns. Wait, isn't he on the Browns now? Yeah, Andrew Sendejo is on the Browns now. Sorry about that. So they don't even have a safety there. I thought Andrew Sendejo was still on the Vikings, but he's not. Harrison Smith is, but he's not getting much younger. And yeah, so I feel like Xavier McKinney could be perfect spot. And yeah, he's gonna go 22nd, I believe, 22nd overall. Okay, coming into 23rd pick. Okay, we're moving on to the 23rd pick. 23rd overall, and it's the Patriots pick. This one's going to be a bit of a shocker to most Patriots fans, but I honestly think it's the best choice. I believe the Patriots will draft running back DeAndre Swift. I mean, the main problem last year was quarterback play and running back play. Running backs didn't live up to their usual standards, especially James White. James White is a really good pass catcher. He's really good at catching the ball, but his running was really disappointing last season. I mean, I think they need a solid number one running back. They could possibly like switch between all three running backs, so you can have you can have James White in there for the catching of the ball, and like Sony Michel for like the really quick stuff, and you got Nikhil or not Nikhil, DeAndre Swift in there as well. I mean, they could all switch, like all three running backs switch from their position, but they do need a running back. Like they really desperately need a running back, in my opinion. Unless they go offensive lineman, but I think running back would be pretty good for the Patriots and pick number 23. And DeAndre Swift would be a good option. I know a lot of people also had a problem with Sony Michel last year, but I thought he was like pretty good. I think his offensive lineman, they didn't give him enough space, but I still believe in Sony Michel. I don't think he downgraded, but yeah. So pick number 23, running back DeAndre Swift. Okay, coming at the 24th pick, 24th overall, and it's still a Saints pick. And I believe the Saints will draft linebacker Kenneth Murray. They need another linebacker to match up with Davis. And that's pretty much all I have to say. They just need a linebacker. It was one of their weakest positions last year, and one of them, not the main weakest. And I feel like they need a linebacker for that position. Okay. Coming 25th pick, which is the Vikings pick. I believe the Vikings will draft wide receiver CeeDee Lamb. Me personally, I'm not a fan of CeeDee Lamb, but I could see a team being dumb enough to draft CeeDee Lamb. And unfortunately, I feel like the Vikings will fall victim to that. Hopefully, it's not my Eagles. Sorry, Vikings fans. They need someone to pair up. They need Stephon Diggs. They need a replacement for Stephon Diggs after they traded him away. They need someone to pair up with Adam Thielen. They need a solid number 2. I do not believe CeeDee Lamb is a solid number 2, but I feel like the Vikings will believe he's a solid number 2. And yeah, I feel like the Vikings will draft CeeDee Lamb 25th overall. The problem with CeeDee Lamb is he is mainly a deep. He reminds me of a lesser version of DK Metcalf. Maybe he'll end up being like DK Metcalf in a way, because I didn't believe in DK Metcalf either. The problem with DK Metcalf was route running and running deep routes and stuff, but he got better later on in the year. So maybe CeeDee Lamb can get better later on in the year as well, like DK Metcalf did last year. But same problems. CeeDee Lamb has the same problems as DK Metcalf did last year, and it's basically like a lesser, weaker version of DK Metcalf. So, it's kind of like pick your poison at that point. Like, you can either get like a DK Metcalf or a really bad bust like John Ross. So, it's really risky draft choice in my opinion. I know a lot of people are a fan of CeeDee Lamb, but he has a little bit of problems with route running, and he's just really fast. He's just mainly good for like running deep routes, pretty much. You know what I mean? So CeeDee Lamb, 25th pick, Vikings. Okay, coming in at the 26th pick, which is the Dolphins pick. I believe the Dolphins will draft offensive tackle Josh Jones. They need to work on their offensive line. Maybe they trade a little down to get another offensive lineman, but quite honestly, I think Josh Jones is a good pick for the Dolphins. I feel like he fits their mold really good. And yeah, I could see the Dolphins drafting Josh Jones, offensive tackle. Yeah, it's just another position that's a little weaker for them. They need to work on. They need to work on it a little bit. One of their weak spots. But for being quite honest, there's a lot of weak spots on the Dolphins team. But offensive line is a major issue that they need to address. And yeah, I feel like they'll address that issue with Josh Jones. I'm a believer in Josh Jones. I believe he could become an elite offensive tackle one day. I know he's really raw right now, but if you develop him over time, he'll be really, really good. And yeah, he kind of reminds me of a Jason Peters type offensive tackle in a way. Um, but over time, he'll get better and better. And yeah, 26th pick, I believe it's going to be Josh Jones. All right. Let's see. Coming at number 27. Sorry about that. Hold on. Okay, sorry about that. Coming 27th overall is the Seattle Seahawks. I believe the Seahawks will draft defensive end Marlon Davidson. I'm not sure if they're gonna pick up Javion Clowney again. It sounds like they're ready to move on from him, which makes sense. He got injured a little bit last year, and the main problem with the Seattle Seahawks was they got injured a lot. I mean, they had a lot of people injured, and they even had to bring back old older players that retired, which is never a good thing. But unless it's Marshawn Lynch, then that is okay. Um, yeah, I see the Seattle Seahawks building up a little bit more on their defensive line, and yeah, I believe they're gonna get uh defensive end Marlon Davidson to be like kind of like a replacement for Javion Clowney if they don't end up picking him up again. Because it sounds like Javion Clowney might be going to the Tennessee Titans. Makes sense. So, yeah. Uh, 27th overall, Marlon Davidson. Okay, 20. Okay, let's move on to the 28th overall, which is the Ravens pick. I believe the Ravens will draft linebacker Isaiah Simmons. I feel like Isaiah Simmons reminds me, and he's kind of like a mold of uh Terrell Suggs. But if we're being honest, the linebackers this year it's not that great. The linebacker draft class. Maybe I feel like this guy is the best linebacker in the draft class. In this year's draft class, and unfortunately that's not a good thing. I think he'll make a good second string linebacker, like to pair up with the other linebackers that they have. But the linebackers this year aren't that impressive in my opinion. I wasn't really impressed with many of the linebackers in this year's draft class, but I feel like he is the best linebacker in this draft class, and I feel like the Ravens are smart and they can see that. So yeah, Isaiah Simmons, 28th overall. Okay, coming to 29th overall is Jason Kinlaw, defensive tackle. It's the Titans pick. Um, Once again, they need a second string defensive tackle. They need to build up that defensive tackle line. And I believe Jason Kinlaw could be a good pick for the Tennessee Titans. Uh, 30th overall, which is the Packers pick. I believe the Packers will select Jalen Reagor, wide receiver. It's all over the place that the Packers are mainly focusing on wide receivers. And I believe that because, I mean, who do you have besides Devontae Adams? You don't have Randall Cobb anymore. I mean, you need a real solid um, second string wide receiver. And this is my second choice. This would be my second choice for the Eagles to pick if they end up not picking Justin Simmons or Justin Jefferson. Sorry, if they end up getting Justin Jefferson, I feel like they should get Jalen Reagor. Very impressive film. He just seems a little bit too much like Odell Beckham, like attitude problem wise. But I mean, is that the biggest issue? He's very impressive though. I feel like he could be an elite receiver. He's very underrated in the draft class. But I feel like he could be a starter. There's a lot of good in that film, and I believe in Jalen Reagor. He unfortunately had a bad quarterback last year, so we never really got to see his true potential. If you know what I mean. So Jalen Reagor, very impressive, and I feel like the Packers will draft him 30th overall. Okay, coming into 31st overall, we have left tackle Isaiah Wilson. he could 31st overall is the 49ers pick, and I believe the 49ers will draft a left tackle, which was, I already said, Isaiah Wilson. I believe Isaiah Wilson can be a bit of a developmental left tackle. He could take the heir to Joe Staley because they need a replacement for Joe Staley immediately because I'm not sure how much longer Joe Staley has. Me personally, I think he's still really, really good, but he does tend to get injured a lot, and it does seem like he kind of wants to retire soon. It seems like this was going to be his last year if he won the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, they did not win the Super Bowl, so it looks like he's not going to be retiring anytime soon, which is good because I'm a fan of Joe Staley. But he can take the place of Joe Staley when he retires, and I see Isaiah Wilson being the guy to take the air from Joe Staley. Also kind of reminds me a little bit of Andre Dillard from the Eagles in a way. He's the left tackle that they drafted last year, which is good because it's good to have like a good left tackle like that. So Isaiah Wilson going 31st overall, drafted by the 49ers. Okay, and the last pick for the first round, the 32nd overall, which is the Chiefs pick. The Chiefs will draft linebacker Zack Baun. Once again, I don't think the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are pretty solid. They just need a better offensive lineman. They need a better linebacker. They need better linebackers, and they need a little bit of help with cornerbacks. Other than that, that's about it. I feel like they should address their offensive line, but I feel like they could do that in the later rounds. I feel like all the good offensive linemen got pretty much taken at this point. So I feel like the next best option is to go for defense in the first round. Me personally, I'm not a big fan of Zack Baun, but I feel like the Chiefs will draft Zack Baun.